the infamous Godzilla Raids Again is now 70 years old.
Yes.
I kind of have to admit that this is like the first time I've really seen in full length Godzilla Raids Again.
I've seen it a few times, and I've always kind of... It's been a while, though, but I just felt like it was just always kind of a boring movie back then. Now I'm older, I have a little more appreciation for it, so I got to sit down and actually... Because, as a kid, I was like, I want to see the monsters fighting, and Anguirus and Godzilla, they do fight. This is Anguirus' first appearance, the first monster versus monster movie that set off the rest of the series to be a monster versus monster type of franchise. It kind of set that formula, and it was a really awesome fight scene. It was a really cool fight scene.
Yeah, I see it, and I was like, the meme is always the front view of the costume, and it's clearly not as good as the first movie, but when you see the side and the profiles and like the 3/4, the suit looks really good.
Yeah,
it's just that front that doesn't look good, and it's just a few shots where you see it full frontal and you're like, that doesn't really work very good.
Yeah,
but I thought that was really good. And one of the other things was, I thought that the final scene with like all like the snow and stuff was really well shot. But also, this is the only Godzilla movie that I can think of, with the exception of Son of Godzilla, which it's not even really a big part in that movie, but where we get to see a snowy Japan. For a country that's really well known for its winters and like its huge snow piles, and it's like a winter wonderland over there. You don't see it in any of the other Godzilla movies ever.
No. Yeah, I'm thinking...
I don't think I can think of his Son of Godzilla, and it's just at the end...
And it's not even in Japan.
Really Japan. Yeah, I was going to say, it's not even really Japan.
Yeah.
So I thought it was like actually one of the nicest looking scenery movies.
Yeah.
But
that wasn't really Japan either. It was just like an island off Japan, but still, yeah.
What?
Well,
this movie?
The snowy island at the end.
No, but they went up to Shibuya.
Yeah, you're right.
For the winter.
Yeah.
And they had the big party, the big company party.
Yeah. You're right.
And that was all winter setting and stuff too, and that was like really nice. And I was like, why don't they do this in more Godzilla movies?
Yeah.
Because you think like the snow with like the atomic breath, like that would go off really well.
That's it. We need Godzilla versus Snow Monster. We need it.
We do.
Not Shimo though. They did that in America. We need a different ice monster.
Yes. Yeah, they had an ice monster and they had the fight in Brazil.
That's true. Yeah.
What happened?
I don't know.
It wasn't supposed to be Brazil, but they had to change it last minute.
Fast and Furious went there, so they were like, why not,
Yeah, that was the last good Fast and the Furious movie. I think I've seen that movie like 10 times.
Arguably, yes.
But yeah, I guess we're going to go into the plot.
Yeah, we'll go a little into it, yeah. I mean, overall, really, it was a good movie. There were some good scenes. It's almost like, Son of Kong. It was like sort of like a quick right after it. A lot of viewers, at the time, they like it was a rush sequel, and it was a rush. It was definitely a rush sequel. They couldn't get Honda back for it. They couldn't.
Well,
he was doing something else.
He was doing a very important project to himself that Toho thought is so good that they decided they're going to scrub it from their history books.
Yeah.
He wasn't doing any. He wasn't selling Girl Scout cookies. But yeah, I thought for what it was, I thought it was a really good movie.
Yeah.
And also, I gotta say, this criteria, even the Biollante gets some flack, but this Godzilla Showa set gets a lot of flack. That a lot of people say the transfers don't look good, the colors are off, it's weird. I thought that Raids Again looked great.
It did look very good, yes.
I when you look at the Gojira criterion, and then you look at the Raids Again, it's like night and day. The Godzilla one looks awful.
And we're not
the
talking
4K
about the
looks great.
The new 4K one looks fantastic.
Yeah, the new 4K one looks great, but it looks awful on Blu-ray. The Raids Again, I was like, this is a 4K scan? Like, it looked good, especially in the final scenes where you actually had a lot of light. You can actually see everything, and you're like, wow, like, this is actually really well transferred and everything. So, that's another knock towards that set. It's got its ups and its downs, but overall, I thought it was a really great transfer, and I think it's a good way to watch the movie.
Yeah.
I don't think that it's as bad as people get. I thought like a really interesting shot was, movie opens. They're like, it's two pilots. They're chit-chatting with the radio operators, two women, and one of them like has that sudden engine failure, so has to crash land on an island. So he goes over, and they're on the island. They're at like having a fire. They're kind of like BSing, like, oh, like I owe my life to those women, those nags, and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And then you start hearing like some rumbling, and they do like this like upshot where you see Anguirus fighting Godzilla, and I feel like we don't ever get a shot like that again in the Showa era.
Like from the ground up, yeah. Like
I thought that was really
they were like
cool.
kind of like the way the island was, like they were like on the water, and then there was a kind of like a
they were in like a canyon,
like a little like crack in the ground underneath the mountains. Like so, they went in there. They went in, and above them was Godzilla and Anguirus fighting. It is a very cool scene, and that's when they book it out of that island. We had our two pilots, Sochi and Kobayashi.
Mr. Groom.
Mr. Groom, yes.
Yeah.
And then, of course, we have Hidemi Yamaji, who's our radio lady. They flee the island. They head back. They report it. And their two jobs as pilots, their jobs are, they work for a fishing company, and they have to spot different schools of fish, tuna, whatever, mackerel, and they're like, hey, this is where you got to go to get the fish, and the fishing company gets them, cans them, sells them. They go back, and that's when we get a little brief cameo. We get the boardroom scene again, just like from Gojira 54, and Dr. Yamane comes back for a little cameo, and it's really cool. Like, so at the time, if you for some reason didn't see the first Godzilla movie, like, this scene's perfect. You have Dr. Yamane from the first movie, and he literally does a recap of the first movie. You get all footage from the first movie of Godzilla attacking Japan. He explains how he was defeated, and like it's so weird though, the cameo, because like he kind of gets called in as like the expert to stop Godzilla. And we never see him again. Yeah, they're like, how are we going to stop him? And he's like, well, right now we have nothing because we killed him with the oxygen destroyer last time, and the guy that made that's dead. So yeah, we don't know how to beat him. I'm the specialist here.
Yeah. He's like, I actually came here for your ideas.
Yeah.
But then he's like, oh, like one thing that we noticed was that Godzilla's attracted to lights because when he got hit with the hydrogen bomb that turned him into this creature, he like follows it with anger now. And I was like, that's all and great, but isn't that Godzilla dead?
Yes.
Isn't that a different Godzilla?
Yeah, they're like,
this one has the same trauma memories as that one?
Yeah.
Like a hive mind?
Yeah. Which I feel like I don't remember them mentioning that in the movie, but where I do remember them mentioning that is in the 90s Random House books. They use the whole light thing as like a deterrent for Godzilla in those books, and I was like, I don't ever remember this concept besides that book.
Well, see, so you're saying in there it was a repellent, but in this one it was an attraction.
But then later on, it did seem like it was an attraction, right?
Yeah, because they're like, oh, we're using the flares to lure him out to the ocean.
Yeah, but then later on, it seems like they were using it to drive him away, because they're like, oh, the light that was supposed to, the flares that were supposed to drive Godzilla away drew Anguirus in. And I was like, wait a minute. I thought the fighters were supposed to draw him in.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was a little confusing, that part of the movie.
But, yeah, also that it doesn't make sense. It's a different Godzilla. They clearly state it's a different Godzilla.
Yeah.
They don't explain where this other one came from, except for there is some plane where there might be ancient beast, and it's the same place where Anguirus comes from.
Yeah, they were saying there's so many. They did say that there's where that island was. There's so many undersea caverns, and from the hydrogen bomb testing, it could have opened one of them, and that's where they could have been all this time. And even later on in the movie, when they're sending out all these military planes and radar planes to scan the water, they're like, "Oh, we're picking up nothing." They're like, well, they could be in those caves or whatever. So
yeah, and I'm like, are they like slightly alluding to like a Godzillasaurus, like in the Heisei, and that like he's like a mutated?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was, it's 1954. They're not worried about world lore building.
Yeah.
But as a fan in 2025, this is what we think about all the time.
Yeah.
But yeah, I thought it was cool, and also like I don't know. I feel like people rag on like the suits. I thought Anguirus looked great in this movie.
I think Anguirus looks really good. The eyes are a little weird.
Yeah, but it's 1954.
But the suit itself, I thought looked great.
Yeah, and then like, so Godzilla comes, destroys a bunch of stuff. There's like a prisoner escape.
Oh, that whole prisoner escape scene is great too. Like, 'cause it screws up the whole thing. So yeah, there's this whole prisoner chase sequence. They break out of a prison truck. They beat these guys up, and you're like, "What the hell?" It's a long sequence. It is
very long.
It's a pretty long sequence for this movie. That out of nowhere we got these random prisoners and these random guys chasing them. So they get this whole car chase going, and then they're in like an industrial area, and they steal a van. They crash the van during the chase into like one of those giant gas tanks, and it causes a big fire and an explosion. And then, as Godzilla's being drawn away, now he's drawn back in because of this big giant fire.
Yeah. Yeah, and then that's like when the fight with Anguirus starts. And, as someone who hasn't seen the movie before, and I'm seeing this fight, I was like, oh wow, so they have a couple fights in this movie. And that's the final fight.
Yeah.
And, they have like, I think that building's supposed to, I'm not super up to date on my...
The Osaka Castle?
Yeah, I think that's the Emperor's Castle.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I was like, I'm not 100% sure because I don't know.
Yeah.
But I was like, that miniature looked great. The fight was really good. And then that whole scene where like Godzilla's like chomping on Anguirus, that looked great too.
The interesting thing that you bring up the castle too for that is apparently when they shot that scene, it was supposed to break, and it didn't break easily. It didn't break how it was supposed to break. So there is actually a cut when they're fighting right on that castle where we kind of don't see it get fully crushed because it didn't work. So they kind of like cut back to it, and then now it's crushed. Like we don't see
had a bit of an
we
eye
don't
on the
see the
table
beginning.
moment.
We don't get to see the whole beginning to end destruction of it. We just see the beginning, a little skip the middle, and then it's like, yeah,
yeah. I thought it was a great fight. I thought the whole scene was really cool, and then they're like following it from above and watching it. I thought that was a really cool concept too. I thought there's a lot of really cool ideas in this movie that don't ever get reused again.
It was a pretty savage kill too. He like pretty much like bites Anguirus' neck until he bleeds out. Got a mouthful of blood like this, and just yeah. And then he lights Anguirus' body on fire.
Yeah. I thought that it was so good.
Like, it was such a, like, finish him moment. Like, my poor boy Anguirus.
Yeah. And then, we kind of get into, like, I guess, like, the last act of the movie, which is the whole, like, we still have the Godzilla problem.
Yeah,
he's still here.
Yeah, they left Osaka now, and the whole fishing company moved their operation to the Hokkaido facility now because Osaka is destroyed. And so, like...
That's the one thing I thought was a little weird. And it's like this in another scene in this movie where like awful tragedy strikes. And everyone's just like, well, that was bad. Let's go on to this other thing now. Like they have like almost no reaction to like
it is like such a like the core like the cast of characters in here was nothing compared to 54. I mean, 54 they were like actively trying to stop it. You had the professor, you had the guy who's trying to just save his shipping company, and then of course you have Shirazawa, and they're trying to stop Godzilla. And then here they're just trying to run their fish business, honestly, is what it comes down to. We do find out that the two pilots were like ex-Air Force or Japanese Air Force, and we do have that little moment where they're like, with their drinking buddies in Hokkaido, and the ex-military, their captain and commander. So they did have experience. So they're not just some guys flying around looking for fish all the time.
Yeah.
But they just don't have like that hero vibe to them. They're kind of just like, in this movie, they're just people.
Yeah, but
trying to run a business is what it comes down to.
But the second pilot, he gets a huge story arc in this last act of the movie.
Koji Kobayashi. Yes,
he becomes Mr. Groom. Everyone starts referring to him as Mr. Groom because he's too old and he's not married yet. So everyone just keeps calling him Mr. Groom, like, "Oh, when are you gonna get a wife?" All this stuff. He kind of becomes like the main character.
Yeah, he does.
He, like the main character of the movie, just like kind of disappears. Does the little Homer, into the bush thing, and he's just there with his drinking buddies. And Kobayashi becomes like the main character, and you're like more invested in him than anything else.
Yeah, he's personable. He's the funny guy.
Yeah, he's funny. Like everyone likes him. He's a good guy. And then they're like, okay, like there's Godzilla's here. We got to go out and
one of their boats goes missing. So like, all right, we're gonna go look for it. Like, you were going out in a plane with no weapons. What are you gonna do? And be like, there he is.
He's there with the Air Force guys.
He's literally there with Air Force guys. They're ex-Air Force at the time, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So he's like, okay, like we're gonna go. They find Godzilla. He's on this like snowy island, but what they notice is that he's in kind of like a canyon. Like a canyon, but it's closed off, so there's only one way in, one way out.
So the plan is just to trap him in there. The original plan is to trap him in there.
Yeah, like collapse it with bombs and like trap him in there. He can't get out.
Yeah.
So they go to the island. They start doing this thing, and then Kobayashi gets hit with atomic breath.
Crashes into the mountain.
He crashes into the mountain, dies. The whole plot is that he keeps saying he has this girl that he's thinking about, and he leaves his notebook with the radio operator. He's like, I'll be back with a nice gift for you when I come back. And obviously he dies, so she looks through his book, and there's a picture of her in it. And you're like, oh, but also she's supposed to be like engaged to the main character.
Yeah.
But like you're supposed to be like, oh, and then even she's like, oh. And then the main character, zero reaction.
I mean, he's mad. He's upset that he's dead, but he's not like he's like well, look, now we figured out how we could defeat Godzilla.
He's like, sucks, bro. Like, that was their reaction. Like and then he's like, I'm gonna go up there with you because Kobayashi's the one who found out how we're gonna do an avalanche and trapping Godzilla.
Yeah.
Under the snow. But he just said it just like that.
Yeah.
Like, so, if he didn't die, I would have never figured that out.
Yeah.
It's a good thing he died, right?
It's a good thing he crashed into that mountain and caused some snow to fall down. Yeah.
Yeah.
So basically the plan now turns, we're not going to just bury him in the canyon. We're going to drop the mountain on him of snow, freeze him, and that'll hold him.
Yeah. So they go out. It's the final sequence. And it's a quite extended sequence. I'd say maybe longer than it needed to be.
Yeah, of just shooting at the mountain and
of them shooting at the mountains, ice falling.
I guess
Godzilla doing atomic breath. Them shooting the mountains.
Yeah.
More breath. I think they were trying to add some peril of like, are they gonna also crash?
Yeah.
Into the mountain, but I never really felt any suspense.
Yeah.
I think this is where you get the infamous bad shot of the front of Godzilla. Like the one that's like the meme.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the end of the movie. You know, I thought it had its ups and its downs. I do not think that this is the worst Godzilla movie that people make it to be.
Yeah.
This is not the worst Godzilla movie.
No.
I don't know what the worst Godzilla movie is, but this is definitely not it. It's so hard to say what's the worst one.
I don't think there's any that I don't like. There's just ones that I don't like as much.
Yeah. Because I like the... I like the classically bad ones that everyone says are awful.
Yes, Godzilla's Revenge is a guilty pleasure.
I even like the Evora Horror of the Deep. I like All Monsters Attack.
There's really not any terrible ones. I think they're all their own thing.
Yeah.
I mean, you could rank them.
The
only ones that I honestly was not a fan of was the Netflix trilogy, I would say.
And I like those.
Yeah.
They're their own thing.
They're their own thing. I appreciate what they did, but they're just like... They could have been better.
Yeah.
Do the book. Yeah. Do the prequel book as a movie instead.
Yeah, that's what they should have done for all of them. Is do the books as the movie, and then I don't know, just don't do the movie. Like, you don't need to see the future bit. Just have the end of him destroying the final ship that gets off of Earth, and that's it.
Yeah. That's
what it should have been.
Yeah.
That would have been a million times cooler.
The highlight of those three movies was the Connect Life quote. I'm like, oh, that's
Life.
That's a new way. That's a new way to say it.
What, you want to connect life tonight? Make one.
That was my takeaway from those movies.
Yeah, that was a little odd.
Do you think they'll do that in the Mothra series?
Maybe.
No.
It would have been weirder if they had some type of like Navi tale or something like that.
Yes. It was a little Avatar-ish, actually.
It was.
Yeah.
It was that time.
Yeah.
It was that time period. It was definitely inspired, at least.
No, it wasn't that time period.
Yes,
Avatar was out so long ago, man. Avatar's like ancient history. That was like the trilogy was like 5 years ago. Avatar's like 30 years at this point. No, it's 20 years, but still.
No, Avatar is not 20 years old.
I don't know. Avatar's pretty old, man. 2009. It's gonna be 20 years old in 4 years.
So it was 8 years old when Godzilla Earth came out.
Feels older, but yeah.
You can connect life.
In Avatar, you can.
Yes.
Yeah, especially with those Navi tail things. Yeah.
Yeah. I'd say this definitely ranks in like not the higher echelon, but like
the Dr. Yamane thing was really cool to me.
Worst Showa ones, definitely.
Yeah.
Heisei is controversial. I think versus Mechagodzilla might be one of the worst.
The Heisei Mechagodzilla?
Yeah, versus Mechagodzilla 2.
Yeah.
Even though it's the third time that they face each other.
Yeah.
And it's different continuity.
Yeah.
But even that one, like, it has Junior in it. I love that design of Junior.
I haven't seen it in so long. That's one of those.
It's like the lizardy before he turns into like the chibi version in Space Godzilla.
That one.
It's that version, which I really did like. I thought it was a cool concept.
Yeah, I would say versus that movie, versus Mechagodzilla 2 and Megaguirus are probably like my two least watched Godzilla movies. And Raids Again. I would say those are my three least watched Godzilla movies.
Yeah, Megaguirus is. I think I've only.
I don't
seen
hate any
once.
of them, but they're just like my least watched.
Yeah, I unfortunately, just because we do this, I've seen 98. I think like 3 times over the last like 5 years, and that movie's just too long. I think that's one of the main problems of that movie. It's just too long.
I haven't seen 98 in a very long time, but when it did come out, I saw it a lot.
I saw it Within the last 5 years, I think I've seen it 3 times.
I don't think I've seen it within the last 5 years.
Yeah, it's like an hour too long.
That's a lot of times.
It is.
Yeah.
Basically, the Madison Square Garden stuff doesn't need to happen.
Yeah.
That they added Jurassic Park in the middle of the movie.
Let's do Jurassic Park. Yeah, this year we're gonna have some pretty interesting movies. We got Jurassic World, and I drew on a blank on the Vietnam dinosaur one.
Oh yeah,
Primitive War. Looks pretty good.
Yeah.
They dropped the first trailer for that. That looks pretty cool.
Yeah.
I don't know. They don't have a date for that yet, but that should be an interesting one.
Yeah. Did you see that new Predator?
The cartoon.
Yeah.
Yeah, that looks pretty cool.
It's like a big. It's like there's gonna be like a big predator.
Yeah, yeah. They're doing some crazy stuff with the cartoons, and yeah, I want to definitely check that out. The Prey one was awesome.
Yeah. But yeah, can you imagine if they get like the giant predator to fight like the queen alien?
I wouldn't be surprised if they did do like an Alien vs Predator animated if this does really good. Why not?
Oh, so good. That movie was so good. It didn't deserve the hate.
I really like Alien vs Predator also. The second one I
Yeah.
didn't like so much, but the first one was I enjoyed a lot.
I thought that was badass, that movie.
Yeah.
But I feel like we are so far away from Raids Again.
Yeah. Yeah.
But so I guess thank you guys for watching.
Yeah, guys.
We'll see you guys next time. Probably going to be reviewing the Kaiju number 8 movie.
Yes, Kaiju number 8, and we'll see what else we have for you then.
All right. See you guys next time.
Bye.